What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of True Stories. This here story takes place in Wayside, Supermax facility, 1991. Now, in 1991, I had a silver ragtop 5.0 on gold Dayton's. This is before Menace to Society. You know what I'm saying? I'm driving the Rag 5.0, and it's fresh, and it's bumping, it got sounds. And I was always on Crenshaw, and I was always running from the police. I was driving a shuttle bus on a suspended license for Caltrans. I was also hustling, and you know I was gambling. My community, our part of the hood, is controlled by the sheriff, Lenox Sheriff and Marina Del Rey Sheriff. And at this time, there was a spot on Harcourt, just 2 blocks east of me, Harcourt and 54th, and I would always go over there and kick it. I wasn't doing nothing illegal, nothing whatsoever other than hanging out with my homeboys, my childhood friends. They had a spot that was cracking, and the sheriff would always see me over there parked out front, standing outside, joking, laughing, and the homies would be drinking, obviously running from the police when they see him, and that type of stuff, right? This is what we did back then. And for whatever reason, I mean, it's pretty obvious, they thought I was some type of big drug dealer, so they were on my ass. I mean, they was on my head, my bumper, whatever you want to call it. Every time I left the house, if they seen me, they was pulling me over. It didn't matter if it was 5 in the morning on my way to work. It didn't matter if it was 5 in the evening on my way home from work. It didn't matter if it was on the weekends where I'm just going to get gas or going to get my car washed. They was always on me. And they turned it up a notch to where they was pulling me over every time I hit a corner down there. And one day, I'm sitting outside in front of the spot, they pull up on me, they don't find nothing, they tear up the inside of my car, and they really upset. So they hog-tied me in handcuffs and put me in the back of the sheriff's car. They can't figure out what to do with me, so they end up giving me a littering ticket. So now you done hog-tied me for a littering ticket, and I didn't litter. So that's the type of bullshit they was on. One day they pulled me over and pulled out a bag of rocks and threatened to put the rocks on me. It wasn't until I talked a bunch of shit and made one officer feel so silly for letting his partner plant drugs on me that they let me go. A whole nother story. But back to this story. I ended up getting arrested for a suspended license. I don't go to traffic court, I go to criminal court in Culver City. I see the homeboy Slip Rock and his girl Lil Tracy in court. I see some other homies that got drug cases in court. I'm in court with these dudes. I end up getting sentenced to 120 days in county jail. Normally I would get 90 days. But this particular time, the judge gave me 120 days. So I already know the sheriff got it in for me. And the court system in county jail is probably gonna go along with it, right? Because for whatever reason, sheriff always had a problem, same with the LAPD. They get jealous when they see a young black dude in a nice car. Or they're profiling you as a drug dealer, a gun dealer, or something, right? A jacker, rob, whatever. But I ended up going to county jail, and I go through 9,500 to 9,000 floor through classification, and immediately they take me to the hole. Now, I ain't looked at nobody wrong, I ain't spit on nobody, hit nobody up, or looked at a female deputy's ass, but I go straight to the hole. I did about 30 hours, 32 hours, something like that in the hole. They take me from the hole straight to Wayside Supermax. When we get to Supermax, we're on the bus, and we get to Supermax, first we drop off inmates at minimum facility, medium north, then south, East Max, and then the last stop is Supermax. It wasn't that many of us left, but they line us up, you know, get you against the wall, bend over, cough, that whole 9 yards. Then they give us our bedrolls. We form a line and we walk through the facility. So they dropping off like 4 dudes here, 3 dudes here, 4 here, 2 here. And now I'm the last one left, which I knew was strange. I didn't know if they was gonna take me up under the jail, lock me up, not let me see my family. I didn't know what they was gonna do, but I knew they was gonna do something. I just figured they was gonna beat my ass at some point or hold me like a political prisoner, although there was no politics going on, right? But this is really how I felt. So they dropped me off at this last pod. And you can see through the pods because the pods are made of glass. So the inmates can see through and the officers can see through. And I see a bunch of black dudes, bunch of young black dudes like my age. And that was a red flag because I'm saying to myself, I've never been to a module, a pod, or anything where it's predominantly black. And everybody's young, like ain't no old dudes, right? It's just everybody about my age, which would be around 23 years old. And I see this one guy on the phone, and the phone is on the wall right next to the door, the entryway to the pod. He looked like he's gonna be a problem. He got a nice little size on him, dark-skinned dude. He's on the phone, and I walked through the pod with my bedroll in my hand, and he turned and he said, "What's up?" So I say, "What's up?" And he said, "Where you from?" "I'm from Rolling 60s. Playboy Gangsta Crip." I'm like, yeah, I knew it. I knew it was gonna be something. Now I'm contemplating, did I mess up? Should I got off on dude or what? And now I hear a dude yelling, "Hoover, Hoover." I'm like, oh shit, it's one of them. So now I set my bedroll down. I said, am I gonna have any problems up in here? I don't hear no yays, I don't hear no nays, so I got a good chance. But now I hear dudes, 4 Trey gangs, 4 dudes, hat gang, Watts. I'm like, wow. Like, we don't get along with none of these dudes, right? But not very hostile towards each other either, right? And so I end up going upstairs because you got upstairs and you got downstairs. It's approximately, I would guess, about 68 people to the pod, and my bed is upstairs. So I grab my shit, go on upstairs, and it's one dude upstairs. It's only one dude. Upstairs is a lot smaller than downstairs, if I remember correctly. At least it seemed that way. And so I go upstairs, and it's one dude, and I'm like, "What you doing up here?" He's like, "Oh, nothing, man, you know, this ain't my type of environment." I'm like, "All right, well, you in jail, you know what I'm saying?" I said, "Where you from?" He said, "I ain't from nowhere." But I noticed he got a tattoo, a 3-letter tattoo between his thumb and his index finger. He was a blood. And I asked him, "Well, what's that shit on your hand?" He said, "Oh, this is when I was young. I ain't with that shit no more." So, all right. He said he tired. He gonna go to sleep. Well, I'm tired too, and I'm gonna go to sleep too. Because I've been up all night trying to figure out why am I in the hole, and now why did they send me to Supermax? I lay down and I hear a bunch of foot stomps. So you know what that means. Here they come. Either the inmates are coming or the deputies coming, and I know it's not the deputies. So these dudes run up, and dude jumps off his bunk, and he puts his bunk in between him and the crowd of dudes that's coming. And I'm behind him, so I feel safe anyway, but I'm like, what's going on in my mind? Because like I ain't rolling with him, he a Damu, or ex-Damu, or not claiming his set type of guy. And they hit him up, "Where you from?" Blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't bang. So they like, "Get your shit and go." So they roll him up. Me, I'm cool. Ain't nobody said nothing to me. So I lay back down. After I get enough rest, I get up and I go to where all the noises, all the ruckus, all the Crips. These dudes are all Crips down there. And they playing dominoes and they playing spades. And it's this one dude there who wasn't there when I first came in the pod, but he was a guy leading the pack upstairs to sweat the Damu and roll him up. And he looks at me, and he said, "What's up, cuz?" I said, "What's up?" He said, "Where you from?" "I'm from Rolling 60s. And he paused, and sarcastically, and these dudes is like his pawns. He's like the leader up in there. Not necessarily like he's all of that, but for real, he's boisterous, he's a shit starter, and they all following behind him. And I recognize that off the top. These dudes don't seem like no guys that's gonna stand on their own. Maybe the guy from Playboy Gangster. The rest of them all appear to be followers. That's how I looked at it. So Cowboy, he slams the domino, and he's clowning, he's talking shit. And he looks up at me, and he said, "What 60s you from?" I proudly say, West Side Rollin' 60 Crip. Not with no authority, I'm just proud, because I'm up in here representing. And I'm like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm Cowboy from Menlo Gangster." Now I really feel good. Because we get along with Menlo, we tight with Menlo. And I recognize this dude from being in the hood up in the hills with my homegirl Slow. And being in his hood on 65th and Hoover with a homie Roscoe and them at a spot. So I'm thinking all is good, right? Everything's everything. I ain't tripping anyway. It's like no individual in there pose a threat to me. Only as a group would they pose a threat to me. And these are all enemies. Ain't none of my allies except for the homeboy Cowboy, right? Cowboy, for some reason, acts like he was in that pod the whole time. But no, Cowboy wasn't in there when I first came in there. So he gonna ask me why I didn't rep my hood when I first came in there. I said, "Fool, I did rep my hood." And he said, "No, you didn't." I said, "You wasn't even here." And so dude from Playboy Gangster steps up and said, "Yeah, he repped it, he gave it up." Dude from Hoover stepped up and like, "Yeah, he gave it up. He from neighborhood, he gave it up." So Cowboy's feeling stupid, but he continues to play dominoes. And he looks up at me and he say, "Where you from?" And I'm like, "I told you where I'm from." Like, "What's going on?" He's like, "But what 60s though?" I'm like, "What you mean what 60s?" Because now I'm getting a little irritated. "What you mean what 60s?" He like, "You from Oklahoma, Louisiana, Las Vegas?" And everybody fall out laughing. They think it's funny, like it's a joke, and I'm the butt of the jokes. And I ain't feeling that. So obviously my expression is, I'm confused and I'm mad. Because I'm confused because why cuz hit me up like this, and I'm upset because this dude got everybody laughing at me, and I don't really know how everybody getting along, right? And I feel like he should embrace me. I'm from neighborhood, he should embrace me. It didn't go like that. So Cowboy continued to play dominoes, and it's like a thought came to his mind. He said, "No, for real, what 60s you from, the hills?" Now I'm like doubly upset because back then the hills was sort of like a diss. Like people thought the overhills was weak, and then you light skinned, they automatically associate you with the overhills. So I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from over here." He's like, "Yeah, I knew you wasn't from the front or the abs." He's like, "But I ain't never seen you in the hood." So now I gotta play stupid. "I ain't never seen you in the hood." And he like, "Well, shit, I be all through the 60s. What they call you? Kevmac. I ain't never heard of you." Or, "I ain't never heard of you." You know what I'm saying? That's the dumb games we play when you kind of feel offended, right? But he's an ally. You're not just gonna take flight on him like that. And so he like, "Well, shit, like, where you been?" I'm like, "Where you been?" You know, we go back and forth with that. Everybody laughing and joking. So finally, cuz say, "Well, what you in here for?" And I say, "I'm in here for a suspended license." And everybody fall out laughing again. They laughing, and I don't really know why they laughing. Because I don't know what's going on in that dorm. I don't know what the fuck is funny. So I'm like, what the hell is so funny? Nobody say nothing but Cowboy. Cowboy say, "Cuz, what you in here for?" He point to the Playboy. "I'm in here for murder." "What you in here for?" He point to the Hoover. "I'm in here for double murder." Point to faux tray. "What you in here for?" "Two attempted murders and a murder." So everybody in there got murders. And that's what he hit me with. He like, "Well, shit, we all in here for murder." So he asked me again, "What you in here for?" I said, "Man, you're not going to keep asking me what I'm in here for. If y'all want to get out, if any of y'all want to get out, we can get out." And he said, "I like you. I like you." I said, "I'm not asking you to like me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not asking for no validation. But you up in here fronting me off, and you with all the enemies." So I low-key try to shoot jabs at him. "You in here with all the enemies." And he like, "Who the enemy?" I'm like, "All these nigga enemies. They your enemies too. Like, don't just throw that on me and leave me out there to dry. They your enemy too." So now I'm looking at Cowboy like, okay, he ain't the homie. Like he's more enemy friendly than I was, right? Remember, this is 1991. This is when the gangbanging is going down. This is the height of gangbanging in Los Angeles County. This is before the truce and non-deuce. This is before we kumbaya, hold hands, and talk peace treaty. Everybody's with the shit. I mean, like I said, these dudes in there for murder, but I just happen to be in there for a suspended license. And my thought is, number one, why is Cowboy tripping on me? Number two, why in the hell did the deputies make this call? Why did they put me in here? This was done strategically. They really had it out for me on the streets, and now they put me in this situation. And I'm saying to myself, at some point, somewhere, somehow, they knew they was putting me in a dorm with dudes with murders, right? Had to know this, but that's what's going on through my head. You know, I'm like, them dirty ass sheriff, them dirty sheriff mad because they couldn't never catch me. I ain't got no dope case. At the time, I ain't had no dope arrests, none of that shit. And so it's bothering me, it's mind boggling. So now I ain't really feeling this environment. There's nowhere to go. We don't go outside. We never leave the pod. We locked in that pod 24/7, but there's no sales. So you got day room and bed space and all that. I go back upstairs and I go back and get in the bed. I can't sleep because I already had rest. I already rested, so I'm just laying on my bunk. And now here come these dudes, Cowboy marching up the stairs and they marching behind him. And they stay back at a distance, like it's gonna be a one-on-one type thing, something like that, or they watching his back. And Cowboy say, "Cuz you know what? You down." I said, "I already told you I don't need your validation. I'm not here for your validation." He like, "What you really in here for?" I said, "You're not gonna keep asking me what I'm in here for. I told you what I'm in here for." He like, "No, for real, cause we all got murders, homie." Well, I ain't got no murder. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's gonna be a murder up in here, I'm not in here for murder. Period. The lesson here is just go on and stay down, man. You never know the outcome. And you never know when the police is on your ass like that, that's the signal. So you gotta be careful. You gotta dot your I's and cross your T's because they got something bigger in plan for you. They don't care about your well-being, your health, none of that. They're gonna put you in the fire and see how you come out. I came out like ice cubes. And that's going to do it for this episode of True Stories. Be sure to tune in. I'll have some more stories the rest of the week. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you watch this video to its entirety, be sure to hit the like button. Much love. Stay up. I'm out of here. Peace.
Gang affiliate, hit a stick real quick, and in a minute start killing shit real quick.
I remember nights when they was on rules with Uzi waiting.
I'm $1 million motherfucking nigga. I thought you knew about it, now I'm
This West Side rolling 60 cut, real.